Well, thank you for joining me from New York. If you want to take just a few minutes and introduce yourself, that would be great.
All right, I can go ahead and start. My name is Joanna Loomis. I'm the Deputy Director at Fort Drum Regional Health Planning Organization in Watertown, New York.
And I'm Tim Fayette. I'm Outreach Coordinator and Advocate at Victims Assistance Center. I'm also a Getting Ahead graduate.
I'm Dawn Cole, CEO for United Way of Northern New York, and I refer to myself as a Getting Ahead groupie.
My name is Sarah Yurden. I work for NERCO as a behavioral health specialist, and I'm also a Getting Ahead graduate.
Thank you so much. So talk to me a little bit about your role in the Bridges Initiative and what brought you even into being excited about being a part of this community-wide initiative.
I can start. So what drew me to Bridges was when Phil Duvall actually first presented in Watertown several years ago. I'm actually not sure exactly what year it was, but I walked in knowing almost nothing about Bridges. And I did find myself, though, having a series of aha moments as I learned about the mental model of poverty, hidden rules, the 4 areas of research. And for me, the concepts really did 2 things. First, they resonated with my own experiences of poverty in our community, both personally and professionally. And then they also presented what really felt like a cohesive model to understand poverty and actually do something about it in a way that meaningfully brings together people from all classes and experiences to the table. So my role throughout the years has been a little dynamic. I'm a Bridges certified trainer, so I do trainings in the community. I also am a certified Getting Ahead facilitator. I'm not as active in that role as I was in the past. I did facilitate several Getting Ahead workshops, serve on the Bridges steering committee in our region, and a couple other roles. Just kind of with Dawn, a little bit of a groupie, just trying to help out where I can. So
yeah, thanks.
So my role in it, I graduated from the very first Getting Ahead cohort here in Jefferson County, and through that and staying connected, I've really just been involved through the whole process between promoting it, facilitating, becoming a Bridges trainer. So it really spoke to me because I could relate to it on a personal level. It was my life. Everything really hit home. The hidden rules of class and the 11 resources really, really spoke to me. I lived it. It was clear as day. And it let me look at my life and the community and how everything's interchangeable. It also doesn't just blame poor people for being poor. It looks through poverty through a triple lens of individual, community, and policy change. And it also gave me a great support network to believe in me when I couldn't believe in myself. I love the quote, "Nothing about us without us," and I feel like I can have a voice and can make a difference.
Thank you.
So I've changed jobs a couple of times over the years since the work started, and a cool side effect of that is that I bring the Bridges constructs with me as part of my permanent toolbox. So I attended my first Bridges training right around a decade or so ago. And I was really awestruck by the material, and it helped me to understand some things about myself. And then that was translated into relationships with families and coworkers. And it wasn't long before I started to see the potential of how Bridges could make a difference in the organization and community levels. My work really since the beginning has largely been around getting community buy-in and finding financial resources to support the body of work.
Okay, now mine's kind of similar to Tim. I was introduced to Getting Ahead while I was on actually Jefferson County Drug Court. And I actually interviewed with Dawn and Joanna to attend the second workshop in our area. And at first, I'm not going to lie, I was kind of, I've already been told about poverty and I already know I'm at my lowest. But then I had my aha moment during Theory of Change. And since then, I've just been a big advocate of getting ahead. I became a facilitator. I actually have been very involved in pretty much every workshop that has been in Jefferson County. I sit on the Bridges Steering Committee. I sit on other committees with Tim and Joanna to help with monies from different events that have been raised for getting ahead. And I've become a Bridges trainer. Just love the work. I love being at the table. I just started the first Getting Ahead While Getting Out workshop in our area. And to sit there and say, we are at the table, guys. We are definitely the ones at the table. So that's super amazing.
Thank you. Thanks, all of you, just for giving me a little bit of background. And it sounds like you've been with this work almost from the very beginning, all of you. So as you tell me, first off, Dawn, how many Getting Ahead classes have you actually held? Do you know how many?
In Jefferson County, we've held 22 and counting, and we have 168 graduates. But what's really cool is, like that spark that builds momentum. We've seen Getting Ahead spread to our neighboring county to the south and Lewis County as well.
Yes, yes. They hear about the work and then they come knocking on the door, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's happened a lot of places. So as you think about the journey, tell me maybe individually what you think your future story may look like. And then I'm really anxious to hear about what the community future story.
I alluded to it a little bit during, my first sort of introduction, but that very first exposure to Bridges definitely sparked a longer journey for me. So I participated in several more Bridges trainings. As I mentioned, I became a certified Bridges trainer myself. Then I became a certified Getting Ahead facilitator and facilitated several Getting Ahead workshops. That was a huge experience in and of itself. Emotionally taxing, honestly, but emotionally rewarding as well. And a lot of work, but just a lot of humbling experiences throughout those workshops. Really, really valued the opportunity to be at that table right next to all of those investigators. I also participated in the Jefferson County Leadership Institute, and our group decided to really support Bridges and Getting Ahead work in our community. So we did this wild ride of a huge scavenger hunt fundraiser in our town, and it was a great success, and it allowed us to build up a war chest, so to speak, to start a fund within our local community foundation. So that was great to see that sort of philanthropic piece and really start to build roots for Bridges and Getting Ahead work in our community. Just like Dawn mentioned, I've also kind of switched jobs a few times. Ironically enough, all four of us at one point or another worked at the Watertown Urban Mission. None of us work there now, but we take all that spirit with us. And so after I worked at the Watertown Urban Mission, which is really this grassroots faith-based nonprofit in Watertown, I moved to my current role at our region's health planning organization. And at first I took a little bit of a hiatus from Bridges as I just kind of got into my new, very clinically healthcare driven role. But in time, I began weaving Bridges back into my work because after all, part of what our team does is try and boost the healthcare engagement and health outcomes of people insured by Medicaid. So there's definitely an overwhelming intersection between Bridges concepts and the work that I do. So that's where Bridges to Health and Healthcare has come in for me. I became a certified trainer for that, and then have started doing some of those trainings with primary care practices in our region. And really that's where I see my future Bridges story heading, is further training our healthcare partners and working with them after the training, which is really where the hard work comes in, to embed those Bridges informed workflows into their practices. And I've been incredibly uplifted by some of the changes that are already taking place. So I recently heard from a practice that they are now accommodating patients who simply walk in for an appointment versus requiring that they have an appointment, right? Or that they're taking a few extra steps to learn why a patient missed their appointment and actually helping them to overcome transportation or other related barriers for future appointments. That's the kind of stuff that we want to, keep seeing happening. I'm immensely thankful for the journey thus far, particularly having worked with numerous getting ahead investigators who are now graduates. And obviously you can see some of them, like Sarah and Tim, have taken up the Bridges torch in their own roles as professionals within the nonprofit community. And I'm very, very grateful that I call them colleagues. So
Thanks for sharing.
So like I shared before, it was 2017. I was about 6 months into recovery. I struggled quite a lot in my life with substance use, and I was kind of in that holding pattern. Didn't want to do drugs, wanted to recover, didn't know how, where, or what to do next. And I was given this flyer. I looked at it. I was kind of like, well, I'm very familiar with poverty and I like resources, so we might as well check this out. And boy, did I not expect what I would get from it. The material spoke to me instantly. The hidden rules allowed me to see, disconnect between one side of my family and another. That really hit home. And I think the social capital and support that I was given, like I mentioned earlier, let me believe in myself, or, believed in me when I couldn't believe in myself. And they also saw something in me. So I think one of the big things is I stuck around. I kept that relationship up. I participated in Staying Ahead, which opened some other doors for me to go to human service before I was moving furniture at just the job. Now I have a career that I love. I'm a single dad. It allowed me to become a better father, take a look at myself. And then after, it's just kind of grown. I've become a getting ahead facilitator. I'm a certified Bridges trainer. I am available to do workshops or trainings whenever possible. I am trying to increase civic participation. I'm on a lot of different boards and committees to hopefully give back and spread the Bridges constructs within, the, I guess, behind the scenes aspect of the boards. And I'm here to just keep growing, and I'm going to hopefully be a part any way I can. My job now, when I was at the Urban Mission, I was really involved with Staying Ahead. My job now, I'm a little more distant from it, but I'm available. And I mean, worst case scenario, maybe I can be an example of breaking the stigma, and that change is possible. And even if one person, uses it for inspiration, I'm happy.
Thanks.
So my future story, I don't think it will surprise you if you think about United Way and the parallels in the work of a United Way and the Bridges constructs, right? So at United Way, we're very much embedded. We have relationships with employers, and we raise funds and rally community support around pressing issues. We convene folks to the table to kind of look at issues and figure out solutions. So it's a good thing that there are many products in the, in the Bridges body of work because, as I mentioned earlier, I have changed jobs a few times and I like to take the next Bridges element with me. So here it's a natural to be looking at workplace stability. And also getting ahead in the workplace. And so we're meeting with employers now to talk about what that may look like, and also plans to build out an employer resource network as well. And making sure that voices are at the table. That's another thing that United Way is really good at. And we make funding decisions, so we're raising this money and then we need to exercise great stewardship and make sure that money is being directed to programs that have the most impact. And so we'll continue the practice of having Getting Ahead graduates serve on those review panels and help make those decisions. And that has evolved over time. But with me at the helm, Tim and Sarah, block me if you must on your phone, but I will be calling you and a bunch of others to help out. It's a really important process.
Yeah.
And so often the folks that come to that decision-making table and figure out where to allocate those resources don't have the breadth of experience that you do. So we'll definitely be working to keep you engaged in that process.
Great. I love all the sector work you're talking about. So Sarah.
Yes. So, again, my journey started, I was on Jefferson County Drug Court. My caseworker at the time, Tabitha, was like, hey, I think you're better than what you're doing. Not that waitressing isn't good, but I, see potential, take this workshop. And at the time, somebody that's actually became my pretty best friend, she was just graduated the workshop, and I'm like, hey, I'm only going now for the gift card. I'm like, nah. She's like, no, I promise you, just give it time, and I was on drug court, so I couldn't just kind of be like, hey, I'm out of here. But I'm so glad that I stayed, because once I got my aha moment, I'm like, this is my higher power. Like when they talk about higher power and stuff, like Getting Ahead is mine. My kids will even be like, oh, she's using that purple book on us, or goofy things like that. My kids, they participate in staying ahead and stuff like that. But my future story is to keep Getting Ahead going, not only in our community, but moving it to, Lewis County and maybe St. Lawrence, and I'm close to Oswego County, and getting it into these other counties, and just continue with the Bridges work. Since I became a Bridges trainer, I've just facilitated a Bridges training in December. Yeah. And there were so many aha moments, and there were so many different organizations at the table. And what's so cool is my organization, I work for NERCO, they're very Bridges oriented. Our executive director is very, we do Bridges snippets in our staff meetings. So sometimes I'm like, wait, you don't do that at your organization? Like, I don't understand. And I'm new to like this kind of work since I graduated Getting Ahead. And I've worked under Dawn twice now at 2 organizations. So it's like when other organizations don't have Bridges work, I'm like, wait, what? So let's get a Bridges training. So definitely want to continue with that. And sitting at the table is amazing. Like Dawn said, at United Way, I was given the opportunity 2 years ago to sit at that table and figure out where funding should go. And never thought that I would sit at the table with some of the people that we see in our community. So just continuing with Getting Ahead and bringing all the different aspects of Getting Ahead into our community.
Got it.
And Sarah, I wasn't here then,
No.
But I don't think you just sat at the table. I think you led the table, because they were lost in how to review the applications. And, you got out and you started building mental models and said, okay, look, this is how we need to look at it. So the notes I inherited when I stepped in said, hey, if you want to make your work easy, new CEO, just have Sarah run the
nice
community review panels.
Because we've been like, I've used literacy, and so when they were trying to give monies to certain places, I'm like, wait a minute, like this could definitely be more beneficial. And they didn't understand it. And Dawn's right. We brought out paper and did mental models, and they learned a little Bridges that day too.
Got it. What a wonderful story you're building in your community. And thank you for sharing with me today just all the things that are happening, the sector work, and just trying to really embed the Bridges constructs in the whole community and agencies, organizations. I'm hoping that when people begin to hear your story, that you're okay if they reach out to you and ask questions. Thank you. We love to share with each other, and we like to make sure that we're all growing together. But again, thanks for joining me today. It's good to see all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for having us.